Hey, Adam, it's so great to see you in person. Well, I guess not in person, but over Zoom. Thank you so much for making some time today.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here, look you in the eye, and have some fun.
Yeah, looking, I think that's a better way. I was thinking in person, but Zoom. So what can you do?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really excited to dig into your background, your career journey. But let's start with what you're currently up to. So I know a little bit, but tell me in your own words, what are you doing today? What do you work
Sure.
on?
Yeah. In a nutshell, I run a company called NetworkWise. And what we do is we expedite outcomes in people's lives, in their careers, in sales and entrepreneurial endeavors by teaching a networking mindset. What happens, Dave, as I'm sure you know, probably more so than anyone, is that when you understand people and you can build relationships and you can connect with people, things happen for you easier, faster, and the outcomes are greater. And as a result, you're happier. So that's what we're doing.
So how do you go about doing that? Tell me a little bit more detail about NetworkWise. How do you inspire people? How do you train them? What is your process?
Gotcha. Great question, by the way. We try to inspire. Well, really what it is, it's an education. Candidly, the first thing that I've got to do, more often than not, is unwind people's understanding of what networking really is. A lot of times people really have just such a misunderstanding about what it is. I call it a cognitive networking malware. And I kind of look at myself almost as like a software technician, if you will. And the first thing I got to do is I got to get rid of the virus, which is your underlying understanding of what it truly is. Because once people get it, then the light goes on. And then when you realize that it's not dirty, it's not salesy, it's about giving, it's not about getting, that it changes your perspective. And when you get that, then you can start building. And then I can put in the 1.0 and the 2.0 and the 3.0, and we start building in that capacity. So we do workshops like in person. Organizations hire us to do that. We also work with higher ed, executive MBA programs in high schools. And we've also created a certification. We codified really what networking is all about. We kind of aggregated the best practices of everything that's out there in terms of like what networking is. We codified it. We turned it into a class, if you will, or a course that people can learn, follow through on some action items, and then they can get credentialed.
Mhm.
So it's a credential that we offer that can really help separate you from somebody else that might have similar skill set that you have, but you now bring something to the table, those kind of quote unquote soft skills. I hate that term. I call them the durability skills, but that's what most people refer to them as.
Mm.
So, and what the credential also does is it connects you with an alumni, if you will, of other people that have also been taught, what this is, how to connect, how to benefit other people. So, it's just this snowball effect of positivity that can really help you, learn the underlying materials and then be a good contributor with other people that also get it.
Right. So you mentioned a little bit about, and I'll use my words, reprogramming people, right? So what are the biggest misconceptions in your experience when you're interacting with people and you're helping them? What do you see that you have to unwind?
People feel dirty. They associate networking with something that's like an ask, and people feel uncomfortable about that. And it is if it is, if you're dirt, if that's it, if you're only reaching out to somebody because you want something, then that is, I don't know if that's dirty, but I can understand feeling uncomfortable if that's the reason you're reaching out to somebody. That's not networking. Networking is taking a proactive approach to relationship development with the ultimate goal of benefiting another person. So it's about really connecting to, or turning a connection into a relationship that ultimately becomes an ally. So when you get that, when you understand that that's what networking is, it changes things. So then also people have a different, instead when you're reaching, and you do have an ask, because we do, hopefully we don't need asks, but life is, and sometimes we need things. well, you've planted a lot of seeds that are bearing fruit. So people look forward to your phone call. They I don't know about you, but I've got people sometimes when I see their phone, when my phone lights up and it's got their name, I know they want something. Mm-hmm. And I call those people ask holes. They're the ones that are always asking, never giving. So again, getting back to just understanding what it really is. And, when you get that, and again, I can't say enough about how it just changes the dynamic of also your relationships, how you think about your relationships, bigger picture, that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. So let me ask you, I mean, that's so enlightened, and I just admire, your approach and your philosophy on this. Where did it come from? We're back in high school. Did you say, hey, one day I want to create a networking organization that helps inspire people and train people and teach people? Were you a natural networker? Tell me, what it was back along your journey that got you here.
So great question. And I tip my hat to anybody who at these early stages of life knew exactly what they wanted to do. My gosh, I mean, who knows, yeah. So no, the short answer is no. Was I more naturally inclined? I would say yes. I am an extrovert. The irony is, by the way, we could talk about this later if you're interested, is that actually introverts make better networkers. But that's for another, we could talk about that later if you're interested. Yeah, I was more inclined to, it was easier for me, I guess, to naturally connect with other people. But in terms of like networking, that's something that I had to learn between, following other people, seeing their leads, seeing what people did, and then just reading, again, reading lots of books and learning about, what's good, what wasn't. Mm-hmm. And again, like pulling it together.
Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college?
I went to Quinnipiac College at the time. It's now Quinnipiac University.
Mm-hmm. And then what'd you
Connecticut.
Study? Yeah, what'd you study?
So I studied sociology and communications, and the idea was to help people. And what was interesting is I did an internship that was a big eye opener, where I was working with underprivileged kids that were that went through traumas, everything from cutting, being cutters, suicide, families, abuse, all this kind of stuff. Anyways, the quick and dirty it was a big eye opener, because I realized that in order to really help people, I either have to be a humongously benevolent soul and dedicate my life to helping, and then hopefully I'll be able to make some kind of difference. Mm-hmm. Or I figured I got to be very wealthy, where I can then contribute to more people like myself that want to do things like that really commit themselves. Mm-hmm. So I chose the latter. And what's nice about what I'm doing now is I feel that, I'm helping with human connection. And there's that, again, there's a domino effect of what that can do when you teach people how to really connect with other people. Again, easier, faster, greater, and they become happier. And we've got a loneliness epidemic that's going on right now. Yeah. So when you learn these skills, all of those things happen. And again, less stress. And what also happens too, when you've got relationships, is you're less lonely. But there's all this, I could go, again, not going to bore you and get too granular, but people live longer. They live happier lives. They recover quicker from like illnesses. I mean, like surgeries. I mean, there's so much data and science that supports this. So now I feel that, again, what I was put on this earth to do in terms of like helping people and being able to benefit other people, what we're doing with NetworkWise really serves that function.
That's awesome. Take me through a little bit about how you uncovered some of these great insights. You said you read a little bit. Did you stumble in your career? Did you find a great mentor? Did you find like a counterexample? Oh my goodness, I'm never going to do what that person does. Tell me a little bit about where you picked up some of these great insights.
So all of the above is the short answer. Man, where to begin? So in a nutshell, I've done a lot of very cool things. Everything from working on Wall Street, owning a couple of different companies in private equity, lending money to athletes and entertainers, traveling around the country, speaking in NFL player associations, just so many different things. And I'm not saying this to be braggadocious. It just is what it is. I'm not qualified for any of them. Zero. So how did I do it? Well, it was really interesting. So people would always say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky." And I knew that because when I owned an executive search firm, I catered to the Wall Street community. So we're looking at the Harvard MBAs. I worked with hedge funds, family offices, like these just really top shelf organizations that extremely intelligent, hardworking people were trying to get into. And every single person was significantly brighter than me, but there were so many jobs that they just couldn't get, or they would fumble interviews, or they wouldn't get the meetings. And yet here I am doing a lot of these super cool things that, again, I'm not qualified to do. And I also owned a career coaching business at one point too. And what I realized with all of these people, I worked with everybody from entry level to, 7-figure executives. 90% of our focus ended up being on the networks, the relationships. And that's where there was a lot of people really missed the ball. So, it was very enlightening for me to be able to see this massive gap. So that's kind of like, one of the things that spawned what it is that I'm doing. And I saw the need. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it really does. I can say from my personal experience, I've had a few of those positive experiences and a few of the negative ones, like, oh, never do this and always do that, and see these different people. I always find that with various folks who have these very strong, very well thought out ideas, that it comes from somewhere. Do you have any anecdote that you can share? Like, hey, this piece of this philosophy dates back to this specific instance?
Oh my gosh.
I know you probably have hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I really I honestly just I can't even grab one, because I have almost everything, every single thing that I have ever done. Like I said, is I can't take credit for myself. I can attribute it, like every job, every business within a business, every sale, everything is a result of a relationship that I had before.
Got it. So I'll give you a more specific prompt just in case.
Okay. Yeah.
Was, if you look back on your career, was there a person that you say, oh my goodness, I really like what they do in terms of this, and that became part of your approach?
No, there's not one. No, I probably actually is the answer. No one's coming to my, I'm sorry that I'm just,
that's all right.
You're just drawing blanks. I do try to take pieces of everybody, like yourself, like a convert, there's a lot of things that I can glean from you. So I'll go back again after a conversation, and I'll kind of think about our interaction. What did you do with Treble? How did you do it? What prompted you to build it? And then kind of think about, well, what can I glean? What can I glean from David? But I'm sorry that I can't.
That's okay. I put you on the spot. That's part of what this is all about, Adam, and I appreciate your candor. So let me switch gears a little bit for you then, right? You created NetworkWise a few years ago.
Yeah, back in 2017, 2018, 2017.
Just before, a few years before pandemic, right? What's your long-term vision? Where do you see this going?
So the goal is to turn anytime you hear the word networking, to think, don't just NetworkWise. This needs to be a household name, because networking has been bastardized. So we really need to kind of we need to clean it up and to help people better understand what it is and why it's good for you. So that's the bigger term. Just again, had the household name. Yep, the mission. Thank you for my lack of articulation there. So that's the bigger mission in terms of also making it a household name within corporations and organizations, because it really it needs to mean something when someone becomes NetworkWise certified. That's why it's not an easy certification. It's not like one of these things that you pay $100 or $200 online to just get. Like, there's work that's involved, because what we're trying to do, networking is not natural to most people. It's just not. It's networking. It's not net funning. There's stuff that you need to do. So, the idea, we're trying to create habits, tiny habits. And that's the way the course is designed, because people don't control their destinies. You control your habits, and your habits dictate your destiny. So the idea is to make this a household name that's recognized. So organizations really value someone that's kind of been through our program because they know the value that it brings. So quickly to it, when people are well networked, first of all, it's the number one predictor of career success is your ability to connect with people. That's number one. Gallup's done that. University of Chicago, they've done a poll on that. I mean, there's just so much research that validates that. So let's just, number one. The other thing is, what people don't realize in organizations is that people that have these higher networks, they are the best performing people in an organization. There have been tons of network analysis that proves that. They come up with better ideas. They're better leaders because they have influence.
Mhm.
They've got more diversity of connectivity. So again, getting back to ideas, they stay with companies longer. They progress within companies. So there's so much better of a return of an investment on an employee that has this skill set. So really important. That's our mission. That's what we're trying to do. I hope that makes sense to you.
It does, Adam. I suspect we could probably spend another couple of hours talking about networking and values. But I want to say thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom. But more importantly, I really admire your mission. And we at Treble have a similar mission, right? Trying to teach people and make the world a little bit more altruistic. That's kind of how I sum it up. But I really admire what you're trying to do, and I really hope that in the future, NetworkWise achieves all that you're trying to accomplish, because it will just make the world a better place. And thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'd love to give Treble a plug too. Let's talk about Treble. How can other people that are listening to this, how can they help to get the word out? Because I know that you get this. I know that you believe in this. Your product is about, helping people to do this. Expand.
Sure. So I appreciate that. This wasn't necessarily about Treble, but I will take a moment and thank you, Adam, for that free opportunity. Similar to what you're doing, we're also trying to make the world a little bit better, to teach people how to network and redefine what networking is. And I love what you said earlier about how dirty a word for most people networking is. So Treble takes a different approach. We're more of that platform, as you're aware. So you do the certifications and training, and Treble is more of that tool and resource that we built because my business partner and I looked around and said, hey, LinkedIn really doesn't do what we need it to do. And there was no other tool out there that can help people truly network. Once they understand what networking is, they'll need a platform, a community tool like Treble. And so Treble is for both business professionals as well as for business networking organizations like chambers of commerce and tech councils and alumni associations. So we're more of that platform, and that's why I think we have such great synergy between.
So how does that platform work? Let's say someone's listening right now. How does that work? What is that going to do? Is it helping it tells them that they need to this type of person could be a good synergistic connection? Is that what it does?
Yeah, so thank you. I didn't realize I was going to be interviewed today, but
sorry, man, we're flipping the script. I can't help it.
Yeah. I'll just, I want to wrap up in a minute or two, but I'll take your bait. So thank you, Adam. You're very gracious. So yeah, so Treble makes it easy for individuals to know exactly what other people need, people who they want to develop relationships with, to know exactly what their need, and provide the tools to allow them to help that person. So say if somebody says, I'm looking for an internship for my daughter who's an electrical engineer, somebody else can come along and say, hey, I know somebody, let me introduce you to person X or Y. So the heart of Treble is a wish engine where you can post, these are the things that I'm looking for. These are the ways that I need help. And then we encourage people to go on, like you, and the whole idea of giving, go onto the platform periodically, look at the people in your real network, not the thousands of strangers that you know on social media, but people that you actually have relationships with. See what they need and see if you can take a small step to help them by making an introduction or referral or giving advice, etc. And the more you do that, the more good you feel about yourself. And more likely than not, you tap into this power of reciprocity. They're going to want to help you in return. And then they know exactly how to do it because your wishes are posted on Treble just like theirs are. So that's what we build. We build a community in which people help each other. which is a total antithesis from all of the
Right.
social media, which is, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's all marketing kinds of stuff. So
I like that. I like that term wish engine too, by the way. I don't know if that's something that you use in marketing, but I think it's excellent.
Yeah. We, so I'm going to end on this. We had a lot of debate over whether to use asks or wants or needs or what was the right word.
Mm.
And ultimately, as CEO of the company, I said, I just like the feel of this idea of wish, and somebody could be your genie and grant your wish. So that's kind of how that whole came about.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like
Adam, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you as a guest. I really encourage everybody, all of our listeners, to check out NetworkWise, adopt this philosophy. And if you know any people that would benefit from Adam's training and his material and his certification, please help spread the word. Thank you so much.